Are we ready to go? So, hi everyone. Welcome to the Building the COP 30 forum number 3. We're excited to have you here. It's only 10 days before COP, so exciting times. I'm Irene Skula. I'm the director of the Energy and Buildings team in C40 Cities, and I will be your moderator today. If we can quickly jump into the agenda. So we have a packed agenda, but very interesting one today. So we will start with a fire starter by Ambassador Adonio. Then we will go to discuss a bit logistics and events while on the ground at COP30. I will also be able to provide you an update on the COP30 Local Leaders Forum and the C40 World Mayor Summit. And then you will hear from our partners opportunities to get involved on the ground and virtually as well. And then we will have a short Q&A session. As a reminder, next slide, please. The Building to COP30 forums is a platform for various non-state actors to engage and discuss and exchange views on what is happening at COP. This is a very important COP this year. It's a COP of implementation, and we think that built environment should be apparent in many of the proceedings that will happen in Belém. So I think we'll have here many interesting insights of how important is the built environment for both mitigation and resilience. Moving on, the Building to COP Coalition, as a reminder, is a coalition of non-state actors that advocate for concrete action on zero-emission, efficient, and resilient built environment that is accessible for everyone, everywhere in the world. So you see the core partners here that we are part of the Building to COP Coalition. We have been working together for many, many years. And I think after all these many years of efforts, we are happy to see that built environment is so central into the discussions, and we're very proudly working closely with Global Alliance for Buildings and Construction on this one. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Ambassador Antonio. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's an honor. Ambassador Antonio is a senior international advisor for the Ministry of Cities in Brazil, and he's one of the persons that said this should be the COP of cities, underscoring the need to integrate climate, social, and urban justice into built environment policies. Ambassador Adonio, thank you very much for joining us. The floor is yours.
My pleasure. What is my time slot for this conversation? How many minutes? Just so I don't exceed your generous invitation and the time that you're giving me. But yes, we are hoping that this is the COP of the cities, and this is an urban COP, which means that obviously the focus that we want, that we're trying to give, is a focus on the built environment, is a focus on cities. And it has two dimensions, I would call, let's say, the institutional dimension, if I may, and the concrete dimension, not referring to concrete specifically in terms of the real dimension. The institutional dimension is we are trying to ensure, and I think C40 is particularly keen in this regard, to ensure that the voices of cities, the voices of subnational leaders are heard, are taken into account, because we are convinced, and Brazil is acting on that if you don't engage our mayors, if you don't engage our governors, in the case of the Brazilian Federation, climate action won't happen. You need climate action to happen at the local level, at the territorial level. And therefore, the full engagement, participation, understanding, commitment, and implementation efforts has to involve both our mayors and our governors in the case of Brazil, and globally, obviously, those responsible for cities and those responsible for regional administration at whatever institutional framework that you have. We have joined the CHAMP coalition, which is a coalition of countries that are willing to push what we call the multi-level governance agenda. And as a result of this engagement since COP28, what we have had, and I think it is an important development, is that in the action agenda put forward by the COP30 presidency, Axis 4 is dedicated to cities and the built environment. It has 5 key objectives. One is on multi-level governance. Then there's one on resilient and sustainable buildings. There's one on sustainable development, urban mobility. There's one in water, and there's one on solid waste. I forgot the order, but it's from 11 to 15, the key objectives there, and look at the action agenda. We also have committed ourselves to the local leaders forum that will happen immediately before COP30 starts in Brazil. So what we will have the week before COP30 start is a local leaders forum in Rio on the 3 to 5 of November, the summit of the heads of state and government of COP30 happening already in Belém on the 6th and 7th, and then on the 10th, we start COP30 fully with a strong agenda of both, we hope, negotiations and the action agenda in the blue zone, green zone, and around Belém. Those of you who will go to Belém will see that the city, which is already very vibrant metropolis in the Amazon, it is a huge metropolis. Those of you who don't know, don't expect to be in the middle of the forest. You won't. You will be in the middle of an very urban environment and a very vibrant city, an amazing city in the Amazon region. Okay. We are convinced that the action agenda that we put forward responds, I think, to what we are hoping to get from implementation in the built environment, which brings together everything that I think this coalition has been doing, and obviously other coalitions. And we are putting together a number of, I don't know if you have been following, but we're putting together some acceleration plans to accelerate solution, I think is the formal name. We are hoping to have at least, I think, 2 plans to accelerate solutions, particularly focus on the built environment. We are having one on finance. We are having one on informal settlements. We are having one on multi-level governance, obviously. And really, we are hoping that this will impact not only the action agenda, will impact the implementation priorities that Brazil is putting forward and is highlighting. But I think it is particularly important to think that we want also to impact how the negotiators, the parties of the UNFCCC, look at the climate agenda. I understand, and I don't want in any way to detract from the separation between mitigation, adaptation, and means of implementation. But actually, from the urban perspective, that distinction doesn't make sense. Mitigation, adaptation, resilience, sustainabilities, they all work together. They are fully intertwined. And if we really want to act on the climate crisis, we need to look at this in an integrated fashion. Okay. From our perspectives, from the perspectives of the Ministry of Cities, or from the perspective of the urban agenda that we're trying to push, we need to look strongly to the urban agenda in an integrated fashion. Built environment, urban development, informal settlements, urban mobility, everything needs to work together to make sure that our cities become more resilient, certainly, more sustainable, certainly, livable, less vulnerable, and less unequal, particularly in developing countries like Brazil. And bear in mind, and this is my last concluding remarks, people talk a lot about the COP of the forests, and we're all for it. We understand the importance of our forests, of the forests, and our forests, particularly the Amazonian forest, of the biomes. But a country like Brazil, 87% of the population lives in cities. Even the Amazon region is already, I think, 75% or over 75% lives in cities. And our cities, like I think most of developing country cities, are still places where inequality and vulnerability walk together. So the climate action needs to ensure climate justice, certainly, but it needs to ensure social justice. And in that case, in the case of countries like Brazil, heavily urbanized, and this is a trend that all developing countries are living, which is towards urbanization, we need to have just urbanization. Urban justice is absolutely fundamental to ensure climate justice. And with that, I hope I made my message clear. Please, if you're coming to Belém, let us know, because we are having an amazing agenda of events, conversations, actions, particularly on the 11th. The 11th of November, 11th of the 11th, we are hoping it will be the 11th of the 11th for SDG 11, Sustainable and Resilient Cities. We're having a bunch of events that day, high-level events on everything. Follow us because we are really trying to move forward the built environment agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Adonio, for your very inspiring speech. And I think most of us here share your vision about what cities, urban environments should look like on the amount of equity, sustainability, mitigation, resilience, social justice. Thank you very much. I think I urge everyone in this group and more to follow the activities in Belém. I think it will be an excellent COP. So congratulations for all the hard work that has been put into it. We're moving on to the next, to be a bit more at the COP30 environment. I will give the floor to my fellow participants in the Building to COP Coalition, Celine Harborn, a Build Environment Associate from the Climate Champions team, and Maria Lasley, who is working at the Program and Events team at UNEP and Global ABC. So Celine, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Irene. So yeah, as mentioned, I'm in the built environment team at the Climate Champions. Since the summer this year, I've been particularly involved in COP30's action agenda, particularly in the Secretariat of Activation Group 12 for Sustainable and Resilient Construction and Buildings, under Access for Building Resilience for Cities, Infrastructure and Water. So I'm going to share some insights that we have into the COP30 logistics and also action agenda events and key sectoral events, and where you can find more information on them. So first off, with logistics, the COP30 presidency last night actually shared a mobility guide to support attendance with transport on the ground once you've arrived. So this photo shows a high-level site map and the travel options that will be available. So there are going to be 15 COP30 bus lines operating 24 hours a day, connecting the capital to different areas in Belém. The guide also provides information on taxis, transport apps, cycle lanes, pick-up and drop-off points. So yeah, we'll be sharing some links in the chat, and there will be a link to this mobility guide there. Next slide, please. Next up, e-visas. Make sure to check if you need a visa to visit Brazil. Again, we'll share a link in the chat where you can find the link for information on how to apply. You need to have your Blue Zone accreditation letter, and you should allow 10 working days before you are due to arrive for applying. Also, make sure to get your yellow fever vaccine if you're traveling to Belém. Again, it should be at least 10 days before arriving. Then moving into the blue zone and green zone, site plans showing the layout and location of rooms are being developed at the moment by the presidency. So keep an eye out for detailed site maps to be released in due course on the COP30 website. Within the blue zone, the area is going to have plenary halls, meeting rooms, side events, pavilions, and facilities for accredited press. There are due to be kind of separate areas for the presidency-hosted events, as well as the thematic hub events, which are part of this year's action agenda, and then also the pavilions. A key area to be aware about within the pavilions is the neighbourhood of the Mutual for Cities, Water and Infrastructure. So the Brazil Ministry of Cities, in partnership with UN agencies and various coalitions, are going to host this collaborative neighbourhood in the blue zone that brings together cities, water, infrastructure, buildings and cooling, aligned with Access 4 of the Action Agenda, demonstrating how the urban and environmental agendas kind of come together. It's the first time this has happened. It's the first time this has happened. So 4 different pavilions are coming together under this. So the Cities and Regions Hub, which is co-convened by UN Habitat, ICLEI and Brazil's Ministry of Cities, focusing on local and regional governments in climate action. Then we also have the Buildings and Cooling Pavilion, hosted by Global ABC and the Cool Coalition under UNEP, focused on solutions for decarbonising buildings and sustainable cooling. And then we have the Disaster Resilient Infrastructure Pavilion, sharing strategies to safeguard infrastructure from climate and disaster risks. And then we have the Water for Climate Pavilion too. Then in the green zone, there are also going to be different thematic zones dedicated to different aspects, including climate finance, innovation, biodiversity, youth engagement, and clean technologies. And this is where the presidency wants civil society and private sector to come together to showcase solutions, connect with decision makers, and drive sustainable business. And the space will be located next to the blue zone. It's open to the public, and no accreditation is required to access it. Some of the pavilions there include EY and Deloitte's business pavilions, and also the Swiss pavilion. Now onto the next slide, please. Thank you. So moving on to the COP30 Action Agenda events. So as a reminder, the Action Agenda is the pillar of the convention that mobilises voluntary climate action from civil society, businesses, cities, states, etc. And it engages those actors who don't negotiate agreements but are essential for putting them into practice. So it's becoming a really big focus this year, given COP30's focus on implementation. The COP30 Action Agenda programme is going to be composed of a number of different types of events. All of the ones which have open audiences are captured in the top box on this slide here. And I just want to give a short explanation of what these different events are. So, firstly, the Global Climate Action High Level event. This is a plenary event. It will happen on the 19th of November, 10 a.m. until 12 noon, hosted by the UNFCCC. It's a key event that is highlighting progress and will announce new voluntary efforts from both governments and non-party stakeholders to address climate change. We will then have thematic day, high-level events and ministerial meetings. Hopefully you are familiar with the thematic days for COP this year. The high-level events and ministerial events will take place for each theme and will be used to elevate kind of key results and political messages and debates that are in priority areas for the COP30 presidency. We will then have access synthesis events, which are going to be used to share synthesized collective progress to date under each of the axes of the COP30 Action Agenda and showcase solutions that are arising from each axis. We will then also have showcase of highlighted results and solutions, where initiatives under the different activation groups have been invited to present results and solutions that they have been working on. We will then also have plan to accelerate solution implementation workshops. So again, different initiatives are coming together to develop plans to accelerate solutions to enable kind of collaborative problem solving to scale implementation of solutions that exist. These workshops will allow these groups that are coming together to brainstorm around specific actions that are needed to advance their plans. They're going to be roundtables, but with an open audience. Then there will also be climate high-level champion special events, showcasing priority topics and themes for the high-level champions. And then there will also be Brazil special events, which will showcase special envoy and Brazil ministry topics, which are not already featured in the agenda. So again, I think there should be a link in the chat, which has a link to the calendar of events for the Action Agenda hosted on the UNFCCC website, which has recently been published. So do take a look through and find the events that you would like to attend, and hopefully you have a bit of an understanding now of the different categories. Two particular events I wanted to draw your attention to are the Buildings and Urbanisation Ministerials. So both of these will be taking place on the 11th of November. Earlier in the day, the Ministerial Meeting on Buildings and Climate Change. It will be the inaugural meeting of the Intergovernmental Council on Buildings and Climate. And then later in the day will be the high-level closing plenary, the Ministerial Meeting on Urbanisation and Climate Change, which should be both kind of key moments to look out for on the 11th. Then next slide, please. Finally, I would like to share with you all an eagerly anticipated overview of key sectoral events for buildings and built environment. Again, in the chat, you should find a link to the Building to COP30 event diary. So we have collated here an overview of events all in relation to buildings, built environment, urbanization, cities, all in one place, across the different side events at COP, the buildings and cooling pavilions, other relevant pavilions, including the Resilience Hub, also the COP30 Action Agenda events. It is still being added to, so if you have events that you are organising or speaking at, please do submit them through the form that, again, linked in the chat, so we can add them and we can build a really comprehensive overview of events that are going on in our sector, and also raise awareness of events so that more people will join your sessions. So thank you. I will pass over now to Malia to share more on the Buildings and Cooling Pavilion.
Thank you very much, Celine, for this very clear explanation about the COP presidency events format and structure. I would like I'm Melia. I support the programs and events of the Global ABC. And I just would like to highlight a few events that the Global ABC this year was part of the Secretariat of the Activation Group 12, which is on buildings and constructions of one of the key priorities of the COP presidency this year. I would like to highlight 3 action agenda events because we already mentioned the ICBC ministerial. The one is a highlight of results and solution. World GBC and Global ABC will convene to advance to convince stakeholders to advance implementation of national roadmaps for building decarbonization and climate resilience. Join us on the 14th of November at 2 p.m. in the COP presidency area. Otherwise, we will also have an implementation workshop based on the buildings breakthrough implementation, which will convene all the buildings breakthrough stakeholders, facilitators of the 5 priority actions to advance concrete actions of the priority areas, such as certification, demand creation, finance and capacity building. And last but not least, we'll have one event on timber that will showcase adaptation solutions and sustainable for timber construction that Paul will explain in more details later on. You are all kindly invited to join the 40+ events foreseen at the Buildings and Cooling Pavilion, and the opening of the neighborhood will take place on the 10th of November afternoon, followed by a street party. So you are very welcome to join, as well as the social events such as the Global ABC reception on the 11th of November. We are really looking forward to having you there. And I will pass on back to you, Irene. Thank you.
Thank you both for all this exciting information, and thank you, Andrew, for sharing the links. Staying in the COP30 momentum, I will be glad. You heard from Ambassador Adonio that pre-COP we have there is the COP30 Local Leaders Forum happening in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and the C40 World Mayor Summit, for which I will give you an overview, and we will share some links in case you want to find more information. Can we go fast to the next slide, please? Great. What is the COP30 Local Leaders Forum? So this is an official pre-COP event, which is hosted by the COP30 presidency and Bloomberg Philanthropies. And it aims to unite mayors, governors, subnational officials from all over the world to showcase how local action is driving global climate progress. As we said, a lot of the things that are happening on climate are happening on the local level, the urban level, but also the local level, not necessarily urban level. So I think this forum will provide all the momentum to go to the COP30 negotiations. It will last 3 days, 3rd to 5th of November, and includes high-level gatherings where participants will share solutions, strengthen their partnerships, and advance a unified subnational climate agenda before going to Belém. This forum will also include the 2025 Bloomberg Philanthropies Local Leaders Climate Awards, which is a very nice ceremony where cities compete with each other to celebrate the most daring, impactful, and people-centered climate breakthroughs led by city, states, and regions. Next slide, please. This is the high-level agenda of the Local Leaders Forum. So on Monday 3rd, November 3rd, we have the C40 World Mayor Summit, but we also have in the afternoon the Amazon Cities Forum, which is a regional alliance towards COP30, where key themes of this Amazon Cities Forum will include energy, transport. Sorry, I'm mixing the agendas. Sorry, they will. In this session, we will showcase city-led innovations that are redefining climate action and urban management in the Amazon region. Some of these events you need to know that are closed door, but some of them will be open doors, so you can look on the sites and the links to find more information. Not everything will be fully accessible, as you can understand from the participants that are in it. And also today I heard that I think there are more than 100 and even more subnational representatives at the mayoral or state and regional governor level that will be in Rio next week, which is amazing. And I think it's one of the biggest numbers of local leaders that are joining such a big event. On Tuesday, November 4th, all day, we still have the C40 World Mayor Summit that I will provide more details on. And we also have the Global State and Region Summit, which is convened by Under 2 Coalition. And the key themes there include energy, transport, industry, nature, and tackling financial barriers for climate action. We also have the National Front of Mayors 88th General Assembly, which will carve their mayors only from Brazil to debate key issues shaping local government, fiscal management, and climate leadership. And finally, we have the America is All In Solutions Exchange, which is convened by America is All In and partners that will spotlight US subnational climate leadership in a very challenging political environment. On Wednesday, there are 3 more events. We have the CHAMP High-Level Political Dialogue, which is a closed-door ministerial-level event that will convene the members of CHAMP to discuss how we can strengthen ambition and international climate cooperation to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement. We have the Coastal Mayors Exchange, which is featuring voices from Brazil, but all over the world, which is about how local and subnational leaders are driving climate adaptation and resilience through nature-based and collaborative solutions that bring global climate action with local action. And finally, we have the Local Climate Action Summit, which is another smaller version of the big events, which will bring together mayors, governors, local officials, and national representatives to discuss progress and of local climate action and chart path forward. So as you can see, it's very busy days. There will be delegations from all over the world that will convene in Rio to participate in all these separate events. And diving a bit more deeper in the C40, the next slide, please, World Mayor Summit. The C40 World Mayor Summit happens every 2 to 3 years, and it's co-hosted this time by the Mayor of London and C40 co-chair, Mayor Sadiq Khan, but also the Mayor of Rio de Janeiro, Eduardo Paes, who has been a C40 chair previously. And will bring together not only cities and mayors, obviously, but also business leaders, philanthropists, investors, academics, and civil society. And it will be it will launch officially on Monday the COP30 Local Leaders Forum, as it's an official event of the LLF. Next slide, please, because I think just to show you. Yeah, the agenda is on the link. Andrew, if you can share the link of the C40 World Mayor Summit, because there are many sessions happening around energy transition, just urban action, urban water resilience, climate and health, city business, climate finance, public transport, urban planning, waste management, clean shipping, zero emission freight, public transport, and many, many more. I have given a spotlight in this slide on the 2 sessions that are related to our discussion we're having here on built environment. It's 2 sessions that also my global energy and buildings team leads for its production. And the one is around the energy transition in practice, how we can decarbonize cities by 2030. And it's focusing on all these solutions that cities are taking to phase out fossil fuels, from all sectors. So it includes buildings, it includes energy, it includes transport. But the idea is how we can create a united front and set standards and demand from national governments to match the city's ambition to rapidly and equitably phase out fossil fuels. And the second session is around the built environment and how we generate resilient communities. I totally agree that mitigation and resilience should not be separate things, especially on an urban landscape. So this session will focus on how local leaders are tackling immense climate and resilient challenges, but not only taking action to decarbonize the built environment, but also pioneer clean construction to create millions of good green jobs and thriving communities where people can live, work, and have fun in better conditions. You can visit the link of the for the World Mayor Summit. I think the opening plenaries, not I think, I'm certain, the opening and the closing plenaries of the for the World Mayor Summit will be live streamed. So if someone is interested, the link will be available on Monday to see the main opening session. Next slide, please. So now we're moving on into a bit more active dialogue, and we'll hear from three distinguished speakers how you can get involved. So we have with us Paul King, CEO from Build by Nature, who will discuss the principles for responsible timber construction. And Paul, the floor is yours. I will introduce the rest of the speakers in sequence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irini, and it's very good to be here with you all this afternoon. Very exciting, looking forward to heading out to Brazil next week. So in the interest of time, I'll be quick. Built by Nature, for those of you who don't know, is a philanthropically funded not-for-profit organisation which exists to promote the use of timber and bio-based materials as a climate and nature solution. As you may know, materials account for about 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions, something over a quarter of building related to emissions. So obviously a big focus for us. There have been a number of government and intergovernmental initiatives that link buildings and forests over the last few years, some of which are summarized here. But the one I'm going to emphasize is the one you can see pictured on the right-hand side from COP28 a couple of years ago, where the Forest and Climate Leaders Partnership launched the Greening Construction with Sustainable Wood initiative. That's at the point at which we, Built by Nature and partners, join forces with them to say, yes, we need to increase and accelerate the use of sustainable wood for construction as a climate and nature solution, but we need to make sure that it is done responsibly. Next slide, please. And that really was the genesis of the principles for responsible timber construction. So what we've been doing over the last 2 years is developing 5 high-level principles that are designed to be meaningful globally and seeking engagement and endorsement from actors right across the value chain and major conservation and other international NGOs. Next slide, please. These are the 5 principles. In the interest of time, I won't get into them in detail now, but certainly these are all intended to be very real world and possible actions that we can take to make sure that the use of timber in construction leads to the right outcomes for the climate, for nature and for people, and avoids unintended consequences. You can see we talk about extending the life of existing buildings, robust and transparent accounting for whole life cycle costs in environmental terms, ensuring sustainable forest management, of course, maximizing the carbon storage potential of wood through circularity and reuse, and promoting a timber building bioeconomy. Next slide, please. Just to emphasize the very real nature of this, we ran the prize this year, the Built by Nature Global Prize, and we asked for applications from projects that were completed that demonstrate these principles in action. And we received almost 400 applications from 39 countries around the world. So we've got a fantastic array you can find through the QR code here, the short list of 28, but the many, many more examples of real world practice of these principles being applied for real on the ground. Next slide, please. So what we're doing is building a bank of endorsements. You can see some of them here, including obviously very credible environmental organizations and certification bodies, including FSC and PFC on the forestry side, but many major actors across the built environment value chain as well. It's at well over 280 endorsements now. We know that there will be government level endorsements coming. We're hoping for quite a number of those to be announced at COP, and also some major other international NGOs are expected to endorse. So finally, if we go to the final slide, you can see a QR code here, which will take you through to the link if you and your organization would also like to add your voice in support of this. The key point here is this is about implementation. 2 years ago at COP28, FCLP set out a vision for government acting on greening construction with sustainable wood. The industry has responded, and we're demonstrating now that that is becoming a reality and trying to create a cohesive movement globally. So you adding your voice will encourage governments to add theirs, and hopefully we can get more joined up activity between governments and the industries to promote this as a sustainable and responsible sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Extremely promising and well done on the endorsements. We really believe in this statement. So C40, as far as I'm aware, is also endorsing the principles. So, so we're really glad to hear about it. Next on the floor is Audrey Nanten, the Global Advocacy and Campaigns Director from World Green Building Council. Audrey.
Hi, Irene. Thank you. I'll just be very quick. This is just a call for additional signatures and logos to our business action statement. So ahead of COP, we are promoting our campaign to be bold on buildings, and we are leveraging the scale of World GBC's network of over 80 green building councils and 50,000 members to demonstrate to the political leaders gathering in Belém that, you know, the solutions exist within our industry. Our partners are already delivering them, and at COP we need to see outcomes that you can see here. There's a lot more detail in the statement about ensuring finance flows to the right place, how buildings can play that role in reducing reliance on fossil fuels by scaling energy efficiency and renewables, driving resilient energy systems, and scaling adaptation and resilient. And here you can see it's been endorsed by Dan, the high-level climate champion, and I think we're now at 175 supporters, and we are, you know, opening that up now to our global network, including people on this call, so that hopefully by the 11th, you'll be seeing multiples of that number. So please do support this if you feel aligned with the message. I'll hand back over to you, Irene.
Thanks very much. Yeah, and then if you can share the link, I mean, Andrew, if you can share the link to them, because I think this sign up is a link, so if you can share it also in the chat. Thanks very much, Audrey. I would also like to welcome Kirill Holstovs from the World Federation of Engineering Organization. He represents the Future Leaders Working Group on Climate Action. Kirill, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and hello everyone. So I'm a senior engineer at TACOM and a co-lead of the Young Engineers Future Leaders Working Group on Climate Action. And WFO has been established under the auspices of UNESCO and represents more than 100 national engineering institutions globally. So it is the 5th COP for the working group, and our mission is to elevate the voice of young engineers and policymakers in policymaking, and help bridge the science and policy gap, as well as the implementation gap in climate action. So today I'm excited to share that we've been leading a joint call for COP30, which outlines holistic action for sustainable infrastructure. And it is a policy statement co-developed with some of the leading built environment organizations to align infrastructure development with sustainable and cost-effective pathways. And yeah, also this includes some colleagues represented in the Building to COP coalition, and I'm very grateful for your support. The joint call includes 28 recommendations to address systemic challenges in the 5 priority action areas for buildings and infrastructure, which are carbon management, decarbonization, adaptation, resilience, and nature positivity, inclusive growth, policy and system approaches, and finance. The statement will be launched during the first week of COP and will also form the basis for our advocacy work for the upcoming year. And we're looking forward to sharing some exciting endorsements by influential international engineering institutions very shortly. If you're interested to find out more and support this young engineers-led effort, please get in touch via the email which you can see on the screen. And you'll also be able to find us at COP at Financing Resilient Built Environment side event, which we're organizing on the 14th of November. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Kirill, for your intervention. Great work. Moving on, I'm giving the floor back to Celine, but this time her intervention is on behalf of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, or WBCSD. Celine.
Thank you. I would like to share on behalf of WBCSD about their Business Action Bank. So the COP30 Action Agenda is shaping a granary of solutions, which is a collection of climate action solutions that have been implemented and proven across investments, innovation, finance, technology, and capacity building. Linked to this, WBCSD is supporting the COP30 presidency and high-level champions to create the world's largest open access bank of implemented solutions to feed into this granary. So over the past year, the Business Action Bank, which is a relaunch of their action library, has documented over 170 solutions implemented by businesses with demonstrable climate impact and business value. They've been working with over 10 partners, 80 organizations, and reaching over 70,000 users. The vision is to empower businesses worldwide to take meaningful action while growing business value. Next slide, please. So at COP30, the Business Action Bank is going to show up in a couple of ways. It is, as mentioned, connected to the COP30 Granary of Solutions and core to the action agenda. WBCSD is also running a social media campaign profiling the best practice solutions with a big push on the 8th of November ahead of COP. And then on the 8th of November in Sao Paulo, several solutions will be featured at Climate Action's Implementation Summit in person. If you would like to get involved with the social media campaign, you can reach out to the linked email address to get visuals and profile your own initiatives. And additionally, you can also join the bank for COP30 and also after. Next slide, please. So you can join as a business and share your own case studies of implemented best practices. For possible inclusion by COP30, you would need to submit your case studies by end of day tomorrow. And then you can also join as a partner and coordinate the businesses in your network. If you would like to do this, you should reach out to the same email address as for the social media campaign. Thank you.
Thank you, Celine. I think we can now jump to the Q&A session. There is an open, unless we answered it, did we? Okay. If we will share the slides, thanks, Andrew, for answering it. Are there any questions from the audience? Please feel free to unmute your microphone or write in the Q&A box so that we can answer your question. We're happy also to share a Google form, if I'm not mistaken, asking you whether you will be attending COP in person. So can we share the link in the chat so that people can complete it, please? I think while people are thinking if they have any questions, I will take the opportunity to say that this is one of the most important COPs of the last years, post-Paris. I would say one of the most important, if not the most important. Because it's a COP of implementation, but it's also a COP, as you heard from Ambassador Adonio, that is putting urban action at the center of the discussions. We're all excited. Some of us will manage to travel to Rio and Belém, some only to Rio, some only to Belém, but many of us will be there. So I'm looking forward to meeting some of you in person, and I'm urging you to join all these great statements and initiatives shared by our distinguished speakers today. Any questions? I don't see anything in the chat or the Q&A, but please let me know. If not, I mean, we can close the session to give people time back. We were very time efficient, which is not happening usually in webinars, but I'm very thankful to all the speakers that kept the time slot they had. If there are no questions, I see nothing in the chat again. I think we can close yeah, there are many more links shared, and we can share all the links also when we share with the participants, the people that registered of this discussion. We can share all the links because there are many links, but all of them equally interesting. So spend some time to go through them. There is one open question. Is there any, Celine, it's a question to you, maybe if you know the answer, is there any collective transport from Rio to Sao Paulo? You can open your mic, Celine, as well.
I'm afraid nothing that I'm aware of, but we can look into it and follow up if we do come across anything.
Great, yeah. Transfers might be an issue between the three countries of Brazil, Rio, Sao Paulo, and Belém, but I'm sure it will be figured out in due time. Great. I'm happy to give people 13 minutes back. Thank you very much of joining. Thank you very much for your time, and looking forward to seeing you in Brazil.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.